So a deck that we haven't covered that I'm a really big fan of is actually the new version of Archaludon EX, because this card is so adaptable that it kind of just gets new builds all the time, and so keeping up with it can be a little bit hard. But I figured for the 4th of July coming up, shout out to the USA, even though, you know, ignore the political landscape, we do have what we do best, and I figure on, you know, to celebrate the 4th, we'll do what we do best and we'll blow up some bombs. And so we're going to be using Venture Bomb in order to kind of make this deck work. And the way that it works is that you flip a coin. If heads, you put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon, and if tails, you put 2 damage counters on your active Pokemon. This doesn't matter because no matter what, it's going to go on our opponent's Pokemon, because we're going to use Munkidori with a Dark Energy in order to move that damage over. This is really nice because it helps bump up our Metal Defender attack to upwards to 50 damage, which is really nice. Means that we'll 2-shot everything in the game, but we'll also be able to 1-shot more targets now than we could in the past. One of the other things too that this deck is really good with is that you get to use Relicanth and its Memory Dive ability, which lets us use the Rage or the Raging Hammer in this case, where we do 80 damage plus 10 more damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So if we get attacked by something like a, I don't know, let's say we get Phantom Dived, right? We can stack the damage on ourselves, and then even if we Venture Bomb, we can end up putting the damage either on our opponent or on ourselves, and that'll power up our Rage in that case as well, so that's always very good. We do play Turo Scenario, so we can pick up and reset our Archaludons as well as Hero's Cape in order to make ourselves extra tanky and pretty annoying to deal with. We're also going to play a copy of Iron Bundle in order to move things out of the active, so that way we're getting the knockouts that we want to get. And then this deck's kind of hardest matchup is going into things like Raging Bolt, since they can just topple over your high HP, and so that's why we're playing 2 copies of Pokemon League Headquarters, so that way our opponent's basic Pokemon cost 1 more, so we can kind of make that matchup a little bit harder for them to do. The main thing here is that we're going to be playing 4 copies of Research, 2 copies of Carmine, and 2 copies of Boss, so that way we're constantly able to cycle our cards and deal with that. We have 3 Pokégear as well, so that way if we're going first, we're able to go Carmine, we're able to get our Squawkabilly out, things like that. But yeah, that's going to be the list, guys. It's pretty straightforward, but, you know, like I said, in the good US of A, when it's the 4th, we don't know how to do anything else but bomb things, so, you know, this is pretty representative. So I figured it's the best deck to be able to play for this. I wanted to find something with, like, Braviary or something, but I couldn't find a deck that would be, you know, remotely good with that card. So, you know, what do we got? We got towers and bombs, so pretty representative. All right, let's jump into game 1 in a second, but I'll see you guys there in a second. Just want to give a shout out to the channel members. Thank you guys so much for that additional level of support. It really does go a long way. It means a lot, so thank you so much for that. And for everybody else, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you ring the bell so you're notified of our future uploads. I know a lot of people are subscribed, but they don't ring the bell, so then they miss uploads because YouTube's algorithm kind of sucks, so it is what it is. But I'll see you guys in game 1 in a second. Peace. Alright, we're into game number 1, and we're going to be going first. We open our Duraludon with the Hero's Cape. This is actually pretty nice because we can go Carmine right to start, get some energy in the discard pile. We're up against Dragapult. That's pretty cool. Since we need the energy in the discard anyway, so that way we can go for the Assemble Alloy. One of the things that's also very nice about this deck is that with going first and the amount of Carmines and things like that that we play, we're able to kind of accelerate pretty quickly. We will go for the Venture Bomb, because there's really no reason not to. We get the heads, so we get to put some damage down on our opponent as well. In this case, we'll go Ultra Ball, get rid of the Metal Energy. Unfortunately, our Squawkabilly is prized, but that's also okay. We'll just grab ourselves the Munkidori, which will guarantee that, because the main thing that we do want is to make sure that we can get a Metal Energy attachment each turn. We'll be able to go for this, get ourselves 1 more Archaludon, or Duraludon rather, and then what we'll do is we'll go for the Earthen Vessel. We will get rid of the Venture Bomb here, just so that way we can grab ourselves Dark Energy Metal. We'll go Dark Energy down onto our Munkidori, and then on the next turn we can go Stretcher, pick up our Archaludon, go Metal Energy down, and then go Research for a whole new hand, and start attacking right away. So that works out pretty well. We'll be at 400 HP as well when we evolve the Archaludon, which puts us in a range where our opponent has to two-shot us with the Dragapult, or technically three-shot us after we end up using the Duraludons. We see them go into Badoo, which, if this is all they get off, that's also fine for us. We'll be able to go Metal Energy down onto the Duraludon, look to hopefully draw into our play, but from here we'll go Artisan, use that to grab ourselves a Relicanth for now. We'll grab another Munkidori. And then we'll go Research, where we do find the Duraludon, which is pretty nice, as well as the ability to, so we'll go Assemble Alloy. Then we'll go Pokemon League Headquarters. This is just to stop our opponent from being able to get the Artisan off on the next turn. We knock out the Badoo, which one of the other things about this deck that works out really well is the fact that we don't care about Badoo as much as a lot of other decks. Yes, we do use items like the Night Stretcher, but since we'll have access to the things like the Assemble Alloy, we kind of get to bypass it a little bit. And so, like, this is going to be another example of that. So they go Dragon's Headbutt. What we'll be able to do here is, even though they bossed us up, we'll be able to go for the Earthen Vessel, grab a Metal and a Dark because we already have a Dark Energy, go Ultra Ball, get rid of these, go for the Arch, and then we'll go Archaludon down for Assemble Alloy, where then what we'll do on this turn is that we'll attach, we'll go ahead and retreat, bring this in, then go Brain for the additional damage. And then from here, we can go Night Stretcher. Yeah. We'll go Night Stretcher. Grab ourselves one more Duraludon. Research. This is where if we could find one more Venture Bomb, that would have been really cool, so we could pop the Venture Bomb. I'm going to go Raging Hammer just for the fun. Knock that out. Now, what I should have done, I guess it wouldn't really matter. What I should have done is moved the 70 onto, or the 60 rather, onto the Dreepy here. So that way I could just move the 10 after the fact, but I'm not really that worried about it, if we're being completely honest. But if we're looking for any form of misplay, that's it. We also could have not attached the Dark Energy for turn here. And just attach the Metal Energy and just gotten the same kind of result, except we'd have energy on both Archaludons. But I did want to be able to retreat, get the energy in the discard pile, so that way we can always pick this other Archaludon back up, do a similar play, but now we do have 2 Dark Energy on the Munkidoris, since you do kind of need to prioritize getting the Munkidoris down and powered. In this case, we're so far ahead it won't really matter, but it is kind of something pretty critical to the deck. Especially because, like I said, I can always repower the Archaludon later. So just being able to retreat it out, get the energies back, get back into the active with my Arch with the Hero's Cape was pretty important. But this game is pretty much over. I think they're just going to like wait out the timer before they lose. Which is annoying, but I mean, it is what it is. It would have been cool though if I found the other Venture Bomb, because then I could have popped that, taken both KOs. Potentially. I still would have needed the Munkidori, or I still would have needed the correct coin flip, but whatever. All right, cool. We're gonna knock out this Dreepy and grab one more prize and move on. Going on to game 2. Like I said, this deck can kind of take off pretty early, especially if like you get the right cards early. So just the initial damage and just kind of the speed of the deck and the fact that you don't care about Badoo as much as most decks feels pretty good. And a lot of decks want to go second right now, so the fact that you can go first, get like Squawk down, and like we didn't even have our Squawk to use, but it's fine. Being able to get like Carmines off, get yourself prepped, feels really, really good. But yeah, that's game number 1. We'll jump into game 2 in a second. I'll see you guys there. Peace. Alright, we're into game number 2, and our opponent's going to be going first. We are going to mulligan this hand. It doesn't really show what we're playing, but I mean, we have our Archaludon sleeves, so I feel like they're going to be able to figure it out. We'll go Arch down to start. We'll leave the Relicanth in hand, just in case they, like, boss it up or something. We don't really want that. We do have access to Earthen Vessel. Depending on what we draw right now, we only have an Iono to work with, which isn't super optimal. Psychic Energy, double Psychic to hand, another Earthen Vessel. I assume we're playing we're up against Gardevoir then, by the looks of things. Artisan. Ultra Ball those away. Yep. Grab themselves like a Ralts or Munkidori. Yep. Cool Ralts art. This matchup's actually not that bad either. Interesting that they chose to attach to this. They get themselves their own Munkidori. A Fez. I really don't want to play Iono here, so I'm really hoping I draw into a different supporter, because playing Iono into their 3 would feel really bad. We're going to go Artisan for a Munkidori. We'll go Headquarters down. We're going to go Earthen Vessel here on the Night Stretcher to get ourselves 1 copy of each. I get myself the Turos. That feels really bad. Alright. We'll play this down. Unfortunately, I feel like I have to do this. I really don't want to, but I think it's the play we kind of got to go with right now. I'll place this down. Nest Ball for 1 more. And pass. This actually isn't too bad though. I do need 2 energy in the discard pile and 1 more metal so I can start attacking on the next turn. But I can obtain that, so it's not too bad. They attach a 2nd energy to this and go Turbo Energizer. That's kind of interesting. I guess they're just okay with taking the, like... Alright, Iono comes in. It's not terrible, but it's not optimal. This is a little worse because of the fact that we don't have access to energy, and I really don't want to discard all of this, but we can go Venture Bomb. We'll get access to Pal Pad as well. So, depending on what we top deck. If we get into an Earthen Vessel, it'll feel really good, though. Oh, that's awesome. Alright, so what we'll be able to do here is that we'll go Artisan. Use Artisan to get the Iron Bundle. We'll go Earthen Vessel. Get rid of the Venture Bomb in this case. Get ourselves 2 Metal Energy. Ultra Ball these away. Grab ourselves Relicanth. Relicanth isn't going to come up this game, The only way it comes up is if we take damage and then we have to like boss up the Guardy or something. But I'm not as worried about that, since we'll have to, we can always like get it back with a rage or something like that later. So I'm fine getting this down and just rotating our Archaludons over and over again. We'll make this, and I am fine knocking out the Mew for 2 prizes, because I think the path is going to become, I'm going to go Pal Pad here, just so I can get the Iono back. It might come up. We get that again, so I'm going to go for this. Grab double energy. Attach. I can hold on to this. What I really need is to get my dark energies out of the prizes. I am okay with knocking this out. It does mean that they get 2 more psychic energy in the discard pile, but they already had 4, which is pretty much enough for them to do whatever it is they wanted to do anyway. We get our Hero's Cape and a Metal Energy. That's also very important, because if I have the Hero's Cape on, I'm outside of one-shot potential for Archaludon. The other thing as well is that I can always use Iron Bundle to push whatever's in the active out if it comes down to it, and make space for my Relicanth. But if I can find Boss's Orders and pull up the Fezandipiti, I'll be in a pretty good spot. They're discarding that. They're going to go TM Evo, make themselves Gardevoir. We see Secret Box. Let's see, there's 6 energy here, 7, 8. So there should only be 1 more Psychic Energy in deck, unless one's prized. So I'm curious to see if they have the energy to attach to the Ralts and attack with on this turn. We see Screamtail in the discard. We see another Research in the discard. 2 Iono, 1's in hand. We see 2 Night Stretcher down as well. I don't remember what the Turbo Energizer build uses now. You see them take a Rare Candy, Bravery Charm, and Iono. Curlia to the active. There's 3 Research down. They have to be careful drawing this many cards if they want to go TM Evo onto this. Because, yeah, I was going to say, if they can't go Guardy. Alright, so on this turn, what I want to do is I want to go Pokégear, see if I can find Boss's Orders. I am able to. Because the play from this point is going to be to go Boss's Orders, pull up the Fez, because I can knock that out. I'll go Ultra Ball. Get rid of the Metal Energy, grab myself another Archaludon. Go Archaludon down. So I can assemble Alloy. Make that. Attach. And then on the next turn I can always go for a Iron Bundle play to push the single prizer out if I don't find my other Boss's Orders. And I found a Metal and a Dark Energy, so I can either make a new Archaludon or I can use Munkidori. And pretty much the main play here is that if they make Screamtail, right, as long as I have access to Iron Bundle, if they put damage onto this Archaludon, whether it's them making, yeah, they just couldn't get into Guardy. I wonder why. I think it would be very, very unfortunate if both their Guardies were prized. That would suck, like, a lot. I think that might have been what happened, honestly. Which feels really bad. But we were in a spot that, like, we would be able to win that game regardless of if they made Guardy on that turn. It kind of just took them too long. But yeah, that kind of sucks. Especially because they're on multiple rare candies, so they just couldn't find Guardy. Like I said, they might have been prized, which would feel really bad, but our early ramp wasn't also that great, so I don't know. We'd have to see that game redone to get a better feel for it, but I feel like we were in a really good position towards the end there. But yeah, alright, that's going to be game number 2. Kind of feels bad for them, though. That kind of sucks, so we'll do a game 3, and I'll see you guys there. Peace. Alright, we're into game number 3, and we're going to be going first. We get our Duraludon and Munkidori, which feels really good, because we're going to be able to go for the Dark Energy down. We're up against Dragapult with the Dusclops and Dusknoir, which is also not that bad. We get our Venture Bomb. We get our Squawkabilly as well, though I'm less hesitant to put the Squawkabilly down in these kind of cases where I already have the Carmine and I'm up against the deck that our opponent's playing. Because it means that I have to Turos this up later, and I'd rather save the Turos for this. So I think I'm going to hold off on playing the Squawkabilly. We get another heads, so we'll throw this there, and then from here we just Carmine. I'm okay with not playing the Squawkabilly down. It doesn't get me the exact outcome that I would have wanted, but it's also not that bad. I can go for the Pokemon League headquarters down and pass. This is just to help prevent Badoo play if our opponent's going to go for it. We already have 2 Metal Energy in the discard, so I can go Earthen Vessel, get rid of the Professor's Research in an upcoming turn, and start to get my other Metal Energy, then go research, look for the Arch, and kind of go from there, start attacking. If they make a play, we can get Munkidori and kind of go from there as well. But like I said, the Pokemon League headquarters just kind of stops the Badoo play and other things like that from happening. We get a Boss's Orders, which kind of sucks to have to discard, but it is what it is. We're going to get a Dark Energy and a Metal Energy for now, so that way I can attach the Metal for turn, discard the Dark Energy because I can always pick it back up later, but I really need to make sure that I'm getting into Archaludon on this turn. We'll assemble Alloy. Perfect. And then I do have a Boss's Orders for the next turn as well, so that doesn't feel that bad. Because I can always boss this Fez next turn. But I do want to knock this out just to get the energy off board and start taking some prize cards. It's okay if I take one kind of off prize, because the Duskull will fix that for me. Like right now I'm at 5, but if they want to use it, it'll put me back to 4. Knocking out the Fez will put me back to 2. So forth and so on, so it won't feel as bad. And with double Venture Bomb, which is going to be pretty nice about this, is that if I hit the correct numbers, if they do any damage to my Archaludon, there's a chance that I am able to pop the Duskull on the bench as well without it ever evolving or going off. And if I can take 3 prizes on the next turn, that'll feel really good. Now, if they go double Rare Candy play, and they have a way to attack with the Dreepy, knock out the Archaludon, then that will feel really bad. But then we bring in the new Duraludon, and we hopefully hit a Pokégear. If we can make a new Arch, then we'll be back in business, so kind of just comes down to that. They can also use it to pop the Munkidori. They pop the Duraludon on the bench. That doesn't actually feel that bad. We grab ourselves another prize. The best part about this, too, is that we can literally boss up the Fez and look to pull up the Latios as well. We have Nest Ball to replace the Archaludon. We see the Boss's Orders, or the Research for a future turn. So I'm going to go and place this down. I'm going to go for the Metal Energy attachment so I don't have to deal with it later. We'll go Boss's Orders, pull up the Fezandipiti. And from here, like I said, I can go double Venture Bomb, but I'm fine holding those for right now. We'll go Relicanth as well. Go Metal Defender. Knock out the Fezandipiti. grab 2 prizes, where we have Earthen Vessel and Arch, which is obviously pretty good for us. Though right now we don't have any Metal Energy in the discard pile, so we would have to deal with that. But it doesn't seem like our opponent has much they can do anyway. We do get Iono to 2. That is the one like weakness of this deck, is the fact that you can end up in a kind of rough scenario because of the fact that you don't have much of a draw engine. But what's nice here is, like, let's say they go Rare Candy Energy attack into the Arch. What we'll be able to do is Munkidori the damage over, and then we can always go Turos, pick this back up, move our other Arch back in, play this Duraludon down, and re-evolve, and like attack again, which will be pretty good. The alternative obviously is, like, if they attack into us, if we were able to fail some Venture Bombs or succeed on them regardless of the outcome, it would also feel pretty good, because then we could stack up our Rage or just have the extra damage we need to get the knockout. But it looks like our opponent's kind of struggling to get into stuff, which is kind of the theme of today, honestly. Like, our early aggression is good, like, it's been helping us, but also I feel like our opponents have gotten, you know, a little bit on the unlucky side, I would say. We can just knock this out, but I'm going to go Hyper Blower here, because it forces them to give up the Dreepy with an energy and the Crystal, or the Dracloak. The Dracloak is their, you know, draw engine, essentially, so if we can get rid of that, yes, they'll get 3 cards, but it still requires them to get Rare Candy and, you know, the Dragapult and all that kind of stuff. And they can't use the Duskull anyway, now that we're at 1 prize. We can go Pal Pad as well, just to shuffle our deck and put some Boss's Orders back. Alright, they get themselves the Rare Candy. Rare Candy, Dragapult, so they can go Phantom Dive here. There's also a world that if we top deck Munkidori and we have a way to get placing all 60 here was not the call. Alright, so what we'll do here is we'll go, because unfortunately we're only doing 280. This is where, if we could get a little bit of extra, because, like, at the end of this, we'll only be doing 310 when we move the 30 damage over, which isn't really enough. But, I mean, we'll stack the damage here anyway. What we can do is just pick up this, bring this in, place this down. We'll make the new Arch. We'll be able to go Pal Pad for double boss. Actually, we only need 1. And a research is fine. I guess double boss, because if I just want the best odds of finding it. And then from here, we can just go Metal Defender. And we're guaranteed to 2-shot this on the next turn, even if they move some damage with the Munkidori. So I'm not too worried about it. Yep, and that's going to be the game. So we didn't get the Venture Bomb combo like we wanted, but honestly it didn't end up mattering. I think the problem for our opponent is, like, in all 3 games, the second one a little less than these 2, was that we were just able to make so much early aggression that they couldn't really keep up with. Like, once we're able to just make our Archaludons and stuff like that, there's not much our opponent can really do to outpace us in those situations, and so if they're not able to get like immediately into Dragapult, it's really a problem for them. And these decks like to play a little slower, like a lot of Dragapult decks like to play a little slower, so that way they can go for the Dracloaks and stuff, so that way they can start drawing off them. But with how much we're just immediately attacking, and like if their Dreepies aren't immediately, or their Dreepies aren't on the bench, if we're just taking that first one, it just puts them so behind, so it like becomes a rare candy situation for them. But yeah, that's going to be game number 3. We'll jump into the breakdown in a second. I'll see you guys there. Peace. So going into the breakdown for Archaludon EX, this deck is a ton of fun and really enjoyable. I love flipping coins, even though the coin flip kind of doesn't matter. If you have the Munkidori set up, it kind of equals the same thing no matter what. But also sometimes the coin flips just go crazy, and so that's a ton of fun to be able to do and have. So any deck with coin flips is a deck that I love. So obviously, you know, this is all the rage. Plus, I just think Archaludon's a cool deck. It was something I played a lot during when it had the poison package, and so now that I don't have to play the kind of lame poison package, it's even better now that you can just play Archaludon with some wacky coin flips. So I think it's a ton of fun, so definitely try it out for yourself. Power, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 because it does take some manipulating, but more often than not, you can kind of one-shot whatever you want. In the later stages of the game, like if they attack into you, being able to manipulate stuff with your rage and the venture bombs is what stops us from being like a 5, but more often than not, you're doing a ton of damage, so it's pretty good, especially now that like you have Munkidori. That card's kind of broken and just makes every deck better, so the fact that this deck gets to be able to use it as well feels really good. For consistency, I'm gonna give it, what just happened to me? Just had like a mini stroke. For consistency, I'm going to give this deck a 4 out of 5. Obviously, no, it's very hard to get a deck that's super consistent, like out of, 5 out of 5. It's very rare. This deck comes very close because of the Pal Pads, because of the Carmines, because of Squawkabilly. You're typically able to go first and get our Archaludon set up on the next turn, pretty much guaranteed in most cases, which is kind of all you need. More often than not, in order to get yourself into a better position anyway. If you're made to go second, that's also fine, but right now a lot of decks want to be going second, so that's part of the advantage that you have, is that a lot of decks want to go second. That forces you to go first. You're built to go first, so you end up kind of being able to take away games that you probably shouldn't be able to. For matchups, I'm going to give this deck a 4 out of 5 as well. I realize now that my thing is still 3 out of 5. I will edit that so you'll see 4 out of 5. But when I'm recording this, the screen I'm looking at says 3. It's definitely a 4. Your matchups are honestly pretty good. The only matchups that kind of suck right now is like Ethan's Typhlosion is becoming more popular, and I'm a big Ethan's Typhlosion lover, so like I'm happy about it. But it does suck for this deck. I know that you get to avoid weakness, but they can boss around you, pull up the Archaludon on the bench, knock that out, take 2 prizes. Your Munkidoris never matter, more or less, because a lot of times, you're one-shotting things anyway. The whole thing too is like they can get around your ability. They can one-shot you regardless of the ability with the Defiance Band or Victini and like some other cards. So yeah, it feels pretty bad. That matchup kind of sucks. Your Raging Bolt matchup kind of sucks, so that's why like you have to play the headquarters and stuff like that. But if you don't have that, that can be a little rough. Outside of that though, your matchups aren't terrible. Guardy's a little awkward, but not bad. It just kind of depends on how your coin flips go. What else is there? Your Dragapult matchup is really good. Your Grimmsnarl matchup can be iffy. Grimmsnarl's a little weird because your Rage typically isn't enough to matter because they hit you like for such low numbers, and they get to use Munkidori to like manipulate a bunch of stuff. So like your Grimmsnarl matchup kind of sucks a little bit, but it's not terrible. And that's pretty much it for like your really bad matchups. It's really just Grimmsnarl feels pretty bad. Typhlosion feels pretty bad, and Raging Bolt feels pretty bad, but the rest of the stuff doesn't feel that bad. Eevee Box can, because of like Flareon and again being able to like boss around your Archaludons and stuff like that, but even then that honestly doesn't feel that bad because they have to go for the 280 attack. But yeah, anyway, that's going to be it. The overall, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I think this deck is kind of underrated right now. It hasn't seen the results that we'd really want it to, but I think as a whole it's a really strong deck, so definitely give it a try and test it out, see how you feel about it. But that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Enjoy your 3-day weekend if you get one, and I will see you guys all later, probably Monday. But yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.